Everyone, the Associated Press is just as fake newsy as all the other news associations out there, news groups, news channels, news, whatever you want to call them. And they're reporting, quote, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is engulfed in a scandal in which nothing illegal has happened, no financial or sexual misconduct is alleged, but the fallout could topple him in the elections this fall, AP's whoever reports. And we're not going to read this article. I just wanted to, Canada's no sex, no money scandal could topple Trudeau. Yeah, let's not talk about the time he groped that reporter and the reporter confirmed that happened, and then everybody said, no, she experienced it differently. Right, AP? Let's conveniently forget about that. No money? What are you talking about, no money? SNC Lavalin is up to it in their, up to their nose anyway, and it's all about the money, and everybody knows that. So the Associated Press, be wary of what you're reading out there, because they're not trying to help you, they're trying to put you to sleep. Okay, so the critics question SNC Lavalin's jobs defense as minister can't give evidence, and she really can't give evidence. First, I want to show you they're setting the stage to give SNC Lavalin the DPA, the Deferred Prosecution Agreement. This means that they're going to be able to, Evan's going to lay it all out, but basically they're going to be able to bribe people and commit fraud and all sorts of really illegal things that if you or I did them, we'd be in jail. But the company can do them because jobs, right? Jobs. And this is absolutely crazy. This is beyond the pale. This makes no sense. The Attorney General allowed the public prosecutor to make the decision. The Attorney General last year in September and October told the Prime Minister repeatedly that the decision has been made. I'm not going to interfere in the public prosecutor's case. The public prosecutor is refusing to bring or to allow SNC to access a deferred prosecution agreement because they don't apply or they don't qualify, and end of story. And now they're going to introduce, they have introduced a new Attorney General whose full job it is to get SNC a deal. And here's this liberal Kool-Aid drinking minister who can't give evidence other than anecdotal evidence, we've read reports that say that, and blah 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 blah. There's no reports. There's no hard numbers. There's no hard numbers that there are in fact 9,000 jobs employed, or 9,000 Canadians employed in Canada by SNC Lavalin. 9,000? Probably not. Maybe 5,000. Maybe, who knows? And the people, when asked, the liberal people who should know this, because if they're citing these numbers, they're implying that they did some kind of study. They're implying that they've studied this because that's what they say. Our government is going to be evidence-based. But it's garbage. It's absolute trash. They're making it up, and they're doing it to fit their narrative. They've started with the conclusion. And the conclusion is Justin Trudeau is right and honorable. What a joke. Okay, I'll get the first clip lined up, and here we go. Here she is confirming that a deal for a DPA, Deferred Prosecution Agreement, is still on the table for SNC.
Will your government and will the Prime Minister rule out giving a deferred prosecution agreement to SNC Lavalin now? Is that off the table or is it still on the table?
2 points. One, not my call. It's definitely in the hands of the Attorney General, but legally, yes. Until there's the point of criminal conviction, a company can be offered or negotiated to a DPA, yes.
Okay. But can it be offered after the public prosecutor has said no? Can it be offered after the public prosecutor has said no and the AG has said, I'm not intervening? Is that what the intent of this is? The intent of this is to allow a company to behave illegally up to the point of being convicted in trial? And you give them this out? How does this make any sense?
Legally, but let me just get this straight. A company like SNC Lavalin that is on criminal trial for bribing officials for millions of dollars, it's been in Montreal in the McGill Medical Center, bribery there, $30,000 for prostitutes for Muammar Gaddafi's son. You're saying, your party's arguing that the threshold still hasn't crossed, that they have not still abdicated their right to avoid a criminal trial with all that? Are you serious?
No, and that's not at all what I'm saying. In fact, I would say quite the opposite. Everything you just listed is probably the rationale or part of the rationale behind both the prosecutor and the Attorney General not going down this path. What I'm saying is it's up to the current Attorney General and on the advice of the prosecution. I mean, these trials...
So she just said, yeah, no, I agree with you. That's probably why the Attorney General and public prosecutor went and said no. But now it's up to the new AG. And she's totally fine with this. At the end of the interview, he asks, well, I'm going to show you what he asks her, but I'm going to line up the 9,000 jobs. The rest of what she says here is immaterial. It doesn't really make sense or matter. It's tap dancing of the highest liberal order. Okay, here's Evan asking if the government has any real evidence of the 9,000 jobs.
Does your government have any evidence, real evidence, not speculation, that those jobs would be jeopardized by a criminal trial? Yes or no?
My understanding is if the company was convicted criminally, there were definitely jobs in jeopardy, but no, Evan, I can't give you a direct number.
Minister, let me ask you about Jane Phillpott. Were you surprised when she suddenly resigned from cabinet?
Well, Jane and I had become quite good friends and still remain friends, and I knew, like the Prime Minister, that she had concerns around how our government was handling this, but she very strongly believed if she was going to stand with us as a team and the principle of cabinet solidarity, that she had to be comfortable with what was going on, and she decided that she couldn't and she wasn't. So I wasn't surprised, I was saddened, but
this person is very in on the liberal Kool-Aid, right? First, she confirms that the 9,000 jobs number doesn't have any, there's no report she can point to that says 9,000 jobs. None, not one. She says, well, I don't have anything for that. Sorry about that. And then she says, well, yes, I understand that Ms. Phillpott left cabinet because she lost confidence in the government and, blah, blah, blah. This person then goes on to defend Trudeau and say that if Evan Solomon asks, do you think they should remain in caucus? And the look on her face is incredible. I'm going to find it right now. Hold on. Okay, so here's where Evan asks her, do you think they should remain as in caucus? And she basically says, yes, if they can say they express confidence in the leader. How tone deaf are these liberals? It is incredible. Here it is. And watch her face when he asks her.
Do you think they should remain? They've said they've lost confidence in the cabinet over a fundamental principle of justice. These are not just two MPs. The former health minister, former president of the Treasury Board, the former attorney general, the former veterans minister. Do you think they should remain in your caucus?
From a grimace, right? Like from I don't want to answer this question, to like the plastered on sideways smile, I'm going to answer this in the platitudes. It's, very easy to see through. They don't want to talk about this because it's really uncomfortable, because you can't question the leader in these kind of situations. If you're in a liberal caucus, you bleed red, you drum the liberal drum, and you agree with Justin Trudeau and his version of things, except now there's two versions of things and people backing up Miss Wilson-Raybould, right? So it's uncomfortable, and especially when you're going on camera to confirm the Prime Minister's, what's the report again that we're quoting 9,000 jobs? Oh, I'm just going to say there's no report. It's just, companies experience. Oh, okay. Right. Here she is.
Well, I think that remains almost in their hands. And I would say that I'm in caucus because I have confidence in the leader, because I share liberal values and I share the vision for the country that our Prime Minister, as the leader of the party, has put forth. If they can express confidence in the leader and in our values and our vision, I think the tent's big enough. And
Right. If they can just crush those pesky moral feelings of, but the lying and the illegally changing maybe not illegally changing the law, but the moral implications of changing the law for your crony buddies and letting a two-tier legal system fester in Canada. Yeah, if they can just get on board and express confidence for the leader, then the tent is definitely big enough. You know what? Yeah, if you take the crazy juice, the tent is sure big enough for you too. Crazy. Okay, so here's Pierre Poilievre. Sir, I'm getting your name right. And he is telling us just how crazy an idea it is that SNC Lavalin would leave Canada. This was, again, I say the golden goose that keeps laying Quebec seat eggs for the Liberals, but SNC, they get their pockets lined for it, right? There's lots and lots of money in this. Lots of money. And, Mr. Poilievre outlines exactly why SNC is not going anywhere. And he also says, where's your evidence to these 9,000 jobs? And we'll get to that in literally just a minute.
Possible. Like, for example, he said yesterday, SNC could leave Canada altogether if it's prosecuted. That's not just untrue, it is impossible. The company has an agreement with the Caisse de dépôt, the Quebec Pension Fund, to stay for 7 years in Montreal. It has signed a 20-year lease. It has renovated its headquarters to accommodate its 2,000 employees there. It has contracts that must be executed here in Canada, like the one right here in Ottawa for a $600 million expansion of mass transit. It can't do that in another country. So that is a blatant falsehood, which either shows that the Prime Minister is breathtakingly ignorant of the facts or lying.
Okay. Mr. Boissonnault, obviously the Conservatives are asking the RCMP.
So I wanted to point out, Pierre Poilievre got 45 seconds, and he made a very cogent point, gave a little timeline, and said either Trudeau doesn't know or he's lying about it, which is great. Mr. Boissonnault, look how red he is. This is more red than usual. He knows he's tap dancing. Look at his ears. Ears don't usually get makeup, they go red. I know. And yeah, he's really not struggling to maintain the you flush regardless of whether you want to or not, right? Your face goes red, especially when you don't want it to, and he doesn't want it to. And it's just very interesting to watch him. He stays this red, and maybe that's just too much blush, but I don't know. I haven't seen enough interviews with him to know if this is his usual redness or if he's particularly feeling bad about it. But I noticed his ears go a little red halfway through the interview. Anyway, here is Mr. Boissonnault responding, and his tactic here is to take up as much airtime as possible. He speaks for almost twice the time, I believe, that Mr. Poilievre spoke, and he's saying the same things over and over, and he's trying to deflect. It's the Liberal tap dance. So here's the Liberal tap dance in action, everyone.
To investigate, and they think it meets the investigative threshold because of what Mr. Poilievre just said. Did the Prime Minister tell the truth? Was there political interference in justice? Where did they come up with this? Well, why don't you answer that question? Where did your government come up with this $9,000 stat on job losses? What's the evidence?
Well, the evidence is that there's 9,000 employees in Canada, and they're, just to state clearly for the record, only about 3,000 in Quebec. SNC-Lavalin employees are across the country, including 1,000 here in Alberta. And Evan, you know that I come from a part of the country that was hit hard by the downturn in the world price of, I'll get to that, Pierre. Here in Alberta, we had 100,000 job losses thanks to the downturn in the world oil prices. We can't afford to have another 1,000 engineers put out of work because of a criminal proceeding that could lead to bankruptcy, that could then put all of those pensioners and all of those jobs at risk. I mean, it's factually inaccurate. Responsible and normal for the government to be defending jobs, and when you're looking at the options that are before you in a public policy consideration, if thousands and thousands of jobs were doing the same thing, Mr. Baines has been very clear about the Oshawa situation. That's why we decided here in the West to make sure we're building the TMX pipeline across the country, and that's very important that the government's job, evidence that those jobs, is to defend
where is your
jobs.
Evidence that where is your evidence that those jobs are?
Hold on, let me bring in Tracy Ramsey.
Okay, so that's the tactic. He took a minute and a half, double Pierre's time, and he said nothing. This is their tactic. You eat up the airtime, and I mean, what further knowledge do we have of the question? Where did you get the government's 9,000 jobs at SNC? Well, there's 1,000 jobs in Edmonton, Mr. Poilievre. Thank you very much for asking. Right? I mean, what kind of crazy people are in this government? They think this is okay. Like, they think this is television and this is how you're supposed to answer questions. I'm so sick and tired of this trash. I wish we had a government that didn't have forked tongues and double speak completely down pat. It's incredible. And even the Kool-Aid drinking ones that aren't too sure, or maybe she's 100% sure she's on board with this, but really, it bears the question. Your two friends left cabinet and they don't have confidence in the leader. And saying, if they can just get confidence in the leader again, yeah, well, you know what? Your leader's a liar, and it looks like he broke the law. And it looks like he's going to ram this through, and you're going to sit on the sidelines doing nothing. And doing that allows him to get away with it. And allowing him to get away with it impacts our, being Canada's, rule of law. Because now there's a two-tiered legal system. And now a prime minister's broken the law, gotten away with it, and his cabinet, his caucus, is not holding him to account. What kind of sad, sorry excuse for a government can't hold the prime minister to account when he's so clearly selling out Canadians? You should feel ashamed of yourself, madam. You personally. All right, well, thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful day. Check out the peoplespartyofcanada.ca.